We're talking with our friend Rod Martin. You can find him at rodmartin.org. Read his Substack. It's brilliant. I get it. You know, whenever an article comes out, I stop everything just to read that because he's got brilliant insight. And he put one out, for example, on AI, right? AI, as we know it today, he said the same thing that our friend Dr. Phil Parker said. It's essentially a calculator. In 20 years from now, we're going to look at the current AI that we fear so much and what DeepSeek has done, and we're going to look back and we're going to say, oh, wow, that was a pocket calculator. Yet, it is the future in so many ways. So I want to talk with you, Rod, about the Stargate initiative. I want to talk to you about DeepSeek. I want to talk to you about the Bitcoin Reserve, American Sovereign Wealth Fund. You know, Trump is remaking everything going forward in all of these areas. And of course, space, which is one of your favorite topics. But let's start with China. The China future is not guaranteed. They have a demographic problem, they have an economic problem, and now they have a Trump problem. What do you see happening in China?
Well, first, they are toast. I mean, there's no escaping their fate. Their birth rate has been super low now for decades for their own, entirely their own fault through the one-child policy. They have probably right about 120 million fewer working age people than they're claiming in their official data. That number is dropping fast. The UN suggests their population will probably drop in half by the end of the century. But even the UN's numbers suggest the outlier possibility that they could get down to a slightly smaller population than that of the United States. Nothing to compare to that historically. That's shocking. This is a nation that has put all of its savings into real estate, and real estate is in free fall. That bubble makes ours look like nothing. But it's worse than that. You can't rent condos when there aren't people. And this is their problem across the board. So robotics might help them, AI might help them, but robots don't buy cars and don't buy houses, so there's a limit.
A change of political regime would help them. If you yank the CCP out and you give them a Trump-like effect of positive looking forward and so forth, that's what China needs. There's a brilliant Christian movement inside China, but we're going to need to see some dramatic changes in the government. All right, let's talk about DeepSeek. They announced that they've got this new AI, and you know, it destroyed our market for one day, destroyed NVIDIA for one day. But now we see the market recovering, and your perspective and Phil Parker's perspective is, hey, look, that's the natural evolution of things. It's going to get cheaper, and that doesn't mean that we're not going to see continued growth. Should we be doing an American Sovereign Wealth Fund and investing in that technology like the Stargate initiative? How would you go about it, Rod?
Well, first, as far as AI, you're right. It's a fancy calculator. George Gilder makes this point better than anybody when he says that computation is not comprehension. We are still subject to garbage in, garbage out. And that's what a large language model is. It takes in a huge amount of data and processes it really brilliantly, but it's only operating on what you give it, on what it finds somewhere. One of the problems with some of the LLMs right now is that they're starting to use AI-generated text. And so that just messes the whole thing up. AI is not creative. It may give the illusion of creativity, but it is not creative. It is very much what von Neumann and all those guys were talking about in the early part of the 20th century, that you have to have an outside oracle. The system cannot generate its own creativity. And that's true in microcomputers. It's true in mainframes. It's certainly true in AI.